Right. Can you hear me? Yeah. So, Addyman Archaeology has been back at the Playhouse, and I will be presenting the sequel, even though we all know that sequels are never as good as the first. So if you remember last year, we had our work about the Playhouse being presented with the ticket box and especially the Café Habana that is unfortunately no longer here. Now, we received a call from Montague Evans on behalf of Ambassador Theatre Group about a sinkhole that opened up in the lot in the back of the Playhouse. Sending those photos along. Quite a large opening, which fortunately survived quite long time before it opened up. So we jumped into action, got in, cleaned it, cleared it, and recorded it. So the chamber that was revealed was recorded through photogrammetry for speed and expediency before the sinkhole could be backfilled with type 1 and re-tarmacked. So this is the drawing that we created from the photogrammetry, and we were left with the question of what is it? So a few clues. So first of all, there was a big entrance, as you can see on the bottom right corner. There was also traces of brick springing for a vault or dome over it. The masonry was squared rubble with 4 lines of duke holes, some still with dukes. Pine, I don't know, I don't have a pointer, but I'm sure you can see the lines. I'm too short. There was also a slabbed opening on the bottom left corner, which was not original. One of the clues is the fact that those stones are broached and it was not found anywhere else, and that opening was later partially bricked. So we are on the ground, so this is a weird place for a window. This is just a quick photogrammetry model just to have a better three-dimensional idea of what the structure looked like. You can see the cable, so on the side of the entrance, which was electric, so it means that this place was at least electrified, so still in use in the early 20th century. Some finds that we recovered from it, a bunch of electric insulators on the top left, electric material. I'm not an electrician, I don't know what it is, it looks high tension. A few bottles from Leach, the aerated water and fizzy water producer in Edinburgh, with one stamp at the bottom with the date of 1928. There was also a fair few bits of pine wood that was waterlogged, and on the floor, the flagstone floor, were some traces of iron for shelving. So the floor looked to be secondary. It was not tied in with the rest, and it was on a completely different masonry and composition. So based on the material that was in it and the opening, we assumed that it was at least used in its latest phase, a coal cellar, with the coal chute, that was the window that was later blocked, and then just regular storage with the bottles and the shelves. But what was it before? So we looked at different maps to try and figure out what we were faced with. So unfortunately, the Kincaid map, the site falls just outside. I don't know if you can see the red square, which is where the site is. And then straight on to 1804 and the Ainsley map. The Baxter's building are indicated, but as you can see, the square, again, I'm sorry I cannot point it out, I'm sure you can see it, is not indicated on the map. Further on, 1817, some buildings are erected on this, but it's quite skinny and narrow range, which doesn't really mesh with what we have. Later on, with the Ordnance Survey, you can see the later phases of the structure, with first the Lord Roberts Memorial Works, which was for veteran sailors and soldiers that were injured, and then aerated water works. That doesn't tell us what this structure was for. But thankfully, the Barker panorama of Edinburgh from 1790 might give us another clue. So if you look at the right-hand side of this structure here, this might be the precursor of the Greenside lane, with this lean-to structure and something rounded chamber in the back. Looking at the down the slope, the fact that it's a low-lying ground, could we be faced with an ice house? An ice house that would be related with the Baxter building. So ice houses basically were a way of preserving ice over the summer month to have cooled drinks and beverages. Early on, you would not eat that ice because it was gathered from ponds, then tamped down, back-breaking work into the ice house for use over the year, but just as a cooler. Usually you would have those as close possible to the ice source as you can have, and not close to the kitchen where they will be used, because it's easier to take a little bit of ice every now and then than taking a lot of ice in one go. So this is an ice house that was recently reconstructed down in Oxfordshire. You can see that we are still missing a fair bit on ours because the floor was raised to be used as storage rather than having this deep chamber. But basically what you want to keep the ice cool for as long as possible is something dry on the ground and under a mound. So you have this drain at the bottom, which we did not have in the other one because it's a new floor, it's not the original floor of the ice house. Maybe you will believe me a bit better if I show you this one from Danestown up in Aberdeen, just north of Aberdeen, which looks very similar to the one we discovered, with rubble masonry walls, with duke holes, and a brick dome over. It's interesting to note that this one too, if you can see, the floor also has been raised to be used as storage later on. The dome on the one at the Playhouse is completely gone, so we don't know if there was an actual hatch on the top. This one was built in 1726, but when was ours built? So we know that the Baxter buildings were built between 1780 and 1783, and looking at the Barker map, the panorama, even though it's not extremely accurate, it still represents the spirit of the view, and he probably drawn something that was there at the time. So we do have a date of 1780 to 1790 for the construction of this ice house at the Playhouse, which works with the cup and dome shape of the era, which was then converted into a coal cellar when there was no need for refrigeration through this method. Later on, before it became just a regular storage and was demolished and covered in the 1970s. Thank you very much.